Welcome to the NC Choices webinar series, Teaching Tools for Beginning Farmers, funded by the United States Department of Agriculture's Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. I'm Lee Menis with NC Choices, and I'm going to present the module on pasture pork production. This is one of 7 modules offered in this webinar series. Welcome to the NC Choices Pasture Pork Production Teaching Tools. This module is on welfare, health, and biosecurity. This presentation is prepared by Silvana Petrus-Mosley, Research Associate, NC State University. Stress is a condition which occurs in all pigs when confronted with adverse management environments. Better management practices equal less stress. Low levels of things like selenium and vitamin E may increase the susceptibility to stress. Low levels of selenium or vitamin E or high levels of vitamin A may increase the susceptibility to stress. This reflects the importance of having balanced rations to feed your pigs. Stress depresses immunity and makes them more susceptible to disease. It decreases their feed and water intake, which decreases their growth rate and feed efficiency. It also decreases the pig's ability to cope with environmental change. Stressed pigs are more affected by the weather. Bottom line, stress costs money by decreasing performance. Happy pigs equal more profitable pigs. Good animal husbandry or welfare. This includes health, environmental conditions, and biosecurity measures. This refers to good animal husbandry practices that keep your animals happy, healthy, and productive. Strategies for achieving this are to provide an appropriate environment, have proper nutrition for the stage of production, and biosecurity that minimizes the risk of disease. Monitoring for signs of sickness and administer appropriate treatment as needed in a timely manner, and minimize stress at transporting. Handle animals appropriately and safely. Producers should be able to recognize sick animals and administer appropriate treatment quickly. When observing a pig, a normal pig should be alert, active, curious, and vocal. Have a good appetite, has fine hair, clear skin, of good color, and just a bright-eyed, moist nose, curly tail, and warm ears. Should just look alert. An unhealthy pig will generally have a poor appetite or be completely off feed, be lethargic and tough to get to move, have dull eyes, dry nose, cold ears, and the tail generally straightens out. Sunken flanks from lack of eating and drinking. In severe cases, protruding backbone and diarrhea or constipation. Erratic breathing, shivering, rapid weight loss, coughing, swollen joints are all signs of unhealthy pigs. And generally, unhealthy pigs may even separate itself from the group and be off by itself. Bottom line is, by paying attention to your animals, you can quickly recognize the signs and make treatments to correct it. Pigs kept outdoors tend to have a relatively good health due to low stocking density. Transmission of disease is primarily by direct contact, ingestion, or exposure to infected objects. Diseases are costly, and the need for medication and additional labor add to this cost. Diseases also decrease growth rates and feed efficiency. They increase mortality and increase your cull rates and can lead to loss of markets, and even mandatory quarantines depending on the disease. All diseases are caused by viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. And most of these can be controlled with a good vaccination program. Take time to develop a vaccination program for your farm. By working with your local livestock agent and veterinarians, you can identify which diseases are present in your area and at which stage of production your pigs are most likely to be affected, and prepare accordingly. Here's a piglet diarrhea chart. Piglets tend to be one of the most affected by this diarrhea, and here's some descriptions and the age range and some of the most likely culprits of these. Biosecurity measures mean minimizing your threats. List the how diseases can spread as long, from the movement of animals, wildlife, people, machinery, to contaminated feed, water, breeding, and bedding. Effective biosecurity is about being aware of the ways diseases are spread and taking practical measure to minimize the risk of spread and prevent disease sources from entering your farm. Limiting your farm and its inhabitants from contact with disease-causing agents through managing stock movements, controlling access, good on-farm hygiene, and in some cases an effective vaccination program. Good biosecurity measures are an investment. They ensure your livestock remain healthy. They improve your farm's efficiency through higher productivity. They reduce the treatments and labor needed to separate and treat sick animals. And some diseases can once again lead to loss of markets and even forced quarantine. Some of the transmission risk are manure, either from sick pigs on your farm or from outside sources, wildlife such as birds, insects, rodents, and animals. Proper fencing can help reduce diseases like brucellosis and pseudorabies spread from wild pigs. New animals are a possible source, so it's important to properly quarantine animals before introducing them to the herd. Breeding animals can be carriers of STDs, which can affect your overall herd performance. Get animals from reputable producers. In pastures, without proper rotation and rest periods to break the life cycle of pests. Overstocking allows diseases to pass more readily between animals, and water and feed. Keeping feeders and water as clean and use fresh potable water and quality feedstuffs. A few strategies for biosecurity for small herds. Always maintain a strong perimeter fence. Keep out trespassers and other animals. Consider double fencing and buffers around quarantine areas or sick pens to prevent nose-to-nose contact. Designate a shipping area at the perimeter of the farm to limit the contact with outside vehicles and people. Quarantine new animals for at least 40 days. Vaccinate, deworm, observe, and treat if needed. And control the movement of birds, animals, rodents, and pests the best you can on your farm. Store feed properly, lids on feeders, cleaning up promptly after feed spills can help control birds, rodents, and pests. Always clean equipment. Don't allow outside equipment on the farm, especially from other hog farms. Clean new or borrowed equipment thoroughly and disinfect. Clean equipment used in high-risk areas before taking it to other parts of your farm. Keep feedstuffs protected from the weather, rodents, and potential contamination. Limit visitors, especially from other farms, and limit contact with animals. Always use preventative measures such as foot baths and plastic boots. Proper disposal of dead stock is important. Bury, compost, or incinerate. When it comes to maintaining herd health, most small swine producers have minimal problems with herd health. The elements of herd health plan usually include provisions for good sanitation, quality animals, limited outside contact, and proper nutrition. These reduce the spread of disease and allow you to develop a plan to recognize and treat quickly. Herd health programs vary from producer to producer and within production systems. Designate a quarantine area for your farm. Always isolate new stock for an appropriate period of time to see if it has any signs of a disease that emerge. If you brought sick animals to the farm, it would be easier and cheaper to treat a few sick animals than it would be to treat the whole herd once the disease is spread. Any replacement pigs coming on the premises should come from known safe sources and should be quarantined at least physically separated from your own pigs for at least 30 to 45 days. If possible, use separate members of staff to manage the isolated group or manage these groups last things of each day or each shift. That way that minimizes the potential spread of disease. Sometimes it's necessary to administer medications to keep the pigs healthy. Usually injections or medicated feed are used. Steps to properly administering meds. Diagnose the problem. Get help from a veterinarian if needed. Develop a relationship with vet ahead of time, since many vets don't have extensive experience with swine. Thepigsite.com has a disease problem solver where producers can enter symptoms and quickly have some recommendations for possible diseases. Secondly, determine the treatment and method for administration and get the proper equipment. Third, Determine the withdrawal time. This is the time that it takes for the treatment to be out of the animal's system when given at the proper dosage. Determine the weight of the animal in order to calculate the proper dosage. Then properly restrain the animal and make it in a manner that is safe for the animal and the handler by use of a snare, squeeze chute, or even just crowding. Mark or keep records on the treatment for future reference, the date that's given, the pig ID, diagnosis, treatment used, amount given, and withdrawal time. For oral meds, you may need to use a bolus gun or a tube to administer medication over the back of the tongue so that the animal swallows it. This is generally used mainly in small pigs. When using feeds, determine the weight of the animals and then hand feed to control the dosage. Avoid giving injections when possible because injection sites can cause meat quality problems down the road. Sub-Q, or SQ as it's generally recognized, is the preferred method of injection. It has less meat damage. This is administering a shot where the medicine is inserted between the skin and the muscle. This is generally done in a loose area of skin between the legs and the body. Intermuscular, or IM shots, are shots that are given directly into the muscle. If you have to give an IM shot, administer that shot into the neck area, into the triangle-shaped area outlined in the diagram. The neck area is of lower market value than administering it into the hams or loin. Use a new disposable syringe and needle. 16-gauge needles are a good starting place for sub-Q shots, and 18-gauge needles for intermuscular shots. Use an appropriate length. For example, a 1-inch needle will be more than sufficient on younger pigs, but an 1.5 inch needle may be needed to provide an intermuscular shot on an older pig. Administer no more than 5 to 8 milliliters per injection site, and most importantly, follow the labeled directions. Parasites can cause production losses, diseases, and affect meat quality. You can't eradicate all parasites, but the goal is to profitably manage their levels and effects. External parasites, for example, lice, mange, flies, and ticks, they cause reduced gain and loss of animal condition, and they decrease production rates due to the animal discomfort. Internal parasites are worms, generally worms, roundworms, whipworms, nodular worms are some common species. These can be identified by a veterinarian with a simple fecal sample. To treat parasites, first identify the problem in the species. Consult with a vet or extension agent to determine a program for your area. Consider that marketing programs may affect your options, i.e. no synthetics for certain programs such as organic. Select a product to use and follow the label directions. Observe the withdrawal period. The basic strategies to prevent internal parasite problems in pigs are sanitation, proper animal density, and rotation of pastures. The same thing you would do for any other species. Grazing management helps controlling parasites. Provide diverse pastures. Some forages, such as Lespedeza, which are high in tannins, have actually been shown to reduce fecal egg count. Avoid overgrazing and grazing forages too short, which increases the intake of internal parasites. Rest periods for the pastures help break the life cycle of the parasites. And establish a multi-species grazing program if possible. Species of parasites are specific to the animals. For animal welfare, grazing pigs can get sunburn and are susceptible to heat stress. Sunburn is a common problem, and the main prevention is providing shade. It also helps to have pigs that have pigmented skin, as lighter skinned pigs tend to burn more easily. The main treatment for sunburn is to provide plenty of room in the shade so that pigs can spread out and get out of the sun. Heat stress is another common issue with pigs. Larger pigs are more susceptible to heat stress, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a hot day. Signs such as panting, restlessness, and increased vocalization, laying down and not getting up. And the main treatment is to provide fresh water, provide some shade, ventilation, and cool down by misting with cool water. It is important to cool the pig down, but not to cool it too fast. Animals suffering from heat stress usually recover within 24 hours when the heat stress is detected and treated in a timely manner. Heat stress is also a common cause of decreased fertility in boars. The testicles operate as a production line with sperm at all stages of development being present at all times. If anything happens to the boar to damage this system, it can take up to 8 weeks for a new, normal, mature sperm to be produced, therefore bringing your production to a halt. Vermin and wildlife can transmit diseases, damage the installations and equipment, and contaminate the feed and bedding. Always be vigilant and maintain facilities to minimize these threats. For the disposal of dead animals, always bury the bodies at least 6 feet deep and cover with lime and then recover with soil. The areas used for this purpose should be fenced to exclude other animals. Also, know your soil types and properties to avoid leachate and runoff. Rendering services can be available. They can be expensive. Incineration is another option, but it requires the proper equipment. And composting may be subject to regulations. Here's a sample vaccination schedule. Once again, healthy pigs equal happy pigs. And a good health program is an investment, and the payoff is greater potential profits. Thank you.